Alright, let's do some real quick feet here. I'm going to go to the side. I'm going to hold down Control and drag just to kind of mask that out. I'm going to move this down. That looks like about how long his feet are. And then I'm going to Control drag again to read Dynamesh. I'm going to grab the front of his feet here, Control tap to invert, move this on out. Looks like that's about right. Control drag, and then you can just use Smooth to kind of soften these shapes a little bit. You can use Inflate to kind of round them out. Give him a little bit of cushioning here, and he's got very simple feet. If you want to, you can kind of clip his heels back, kind of round these out just a tad. And that's kind of his basic shape, I suppose. Just to give him a little bit more of a natural stance, what I'm going to do is Control drag part of his leg. Let's go up. Control drag to get rid of that, and then Control drag to his knee. Control tap to invert. And I'm just going to take his heel. I'm going to kind of rotate him out, give him a little bit more of a natural stance. Oops. And of course, I'll use rotate, and I'll kind of rotate him back in, like so. Transposing is something useful to get good at, so I go definitely watch the transpose videos in the Intro to ZBrush Part 1. So, inflating it up, he's got little feet on. Let's go ahead and let's make an insert mesh brush real quick. So I'm going to go out of edit mode, hit Control N to clear my canvas. I'm going to grab the simple brush, I'm going to click on it again, grab the ring 3D, drag it out, and this is going to be that top part of his boot. I can go in here to initialize since it's still an initialized primitive, and I can go ahead and do like the S radius and kind of thicken that up a little bit. I can turn on polyframe and I can make more or less divides in here if I want to kind of simplify. Yeah, do that however you want. Once you're done playing with that, hit Make Polymesh 3D, and I'm going to create an insert mesh brush. So I'm going to snap to the top, and how I'm doing that is holding down Shift as I navigate, and I'm going to hit B, create insert mesh new, and now you'll see I have a new brush down here, and I can just insert this thing all day long. If you want to save this thing, of course, all you got to do is just go to Brush, hold down Alt and tap Select Icon. It'll select your document, then do Save As, save it as a brush. If you always want it to show up every time you start ZBrush, save it in your ZBrush Z Startup brush presets. If you don't want it to, you can just save it into ZBrush 4R7 Z brushes here, and put it in one of these folders, and now you can just hit comma key, go to brush, and it'll be in here. So anyway, let's go back to our fin object. Just go ahead and tap that tool in here, and we'll go down to the bottom, and we'll just drag out those little rings. We'll hit W, move those on up, and he goes about here-ish, and then W to kind of move them in, and of course we inserted those across the x-axis, so it's going on either side, but it's acting a little bit weird. What I'm going to do is do a quick hide point split hidden. For you, all you would need to do if those are masked is just go to split unmasked points. That'll split them off into their own subtool. And now with this, I'm going to go down here to deformation. Go to geometry, modify topology, and just do a quick mirror and weld across the x-axis. And it wants to do it. I guess this guy wasn't mirrored. That's a problem. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to alt tap this. And we turn on LSIM, he's mirrored. If I turn on floor, you're going to see he's actually off-centered. I don't know how exactly I did that. It's all right. We'll get him all cleaned up. So let's go ahead for now and delete his little socks here, and let's get this guy centered out. This is good to do. So I'm going to hit W, and just for fun, I'm going to turn on the X and Z for the floor, and you're going to see his middle should actually be right here. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to turn off X, hold down Shift with my move, and just move him over to the middle. And now I'm going to do a quick geometry, modify topology, mirror and weld across the X. Sure. And let's turn floors off, do a quick mirror and weld. There we go. So now when I do that, it mirrors him across the x-axis. Let's turn off LSIM, sorry. There we go. Mirror and weld across the x-axis. No local symmetry turned on. Hit X, and now he's actually mirrored. Sorry about that. I don't know how I got that thrown off, but that's good to talk about. So when I turn my floor on, you're going to see this green little peg is pointing up. That means it's Y positive, Y is up. Blue, Z is usually forward, the front of your object, and then the red one is X. We usually mirror across the x-axis. So I'm going to turn off X and Z so we just have a little Y floor for him to stand on. So I'm glad that came up. I'm glad that happened. So this is explaining more. If you want your objects to be not necessarily compatible, but well, compatibility is one thing. Y up is what Maya uses. As well as you want it to be consistent within the ZBrush interface with some of the things you're going to be doing, like by default mirror and welds across the X, mirrors across the X. They do that because generally speaking, the front of your object is Z forward, Y is the top part of your object pointing up, and then X is left and right, positive and negative. x-axis. So that's a good habit to get into, is turn on your floor and make sure your object is oriented correctly. But we'll go ahead and turn the floor off, and we'll go ahead and try again. Hit B, grab that insert mesh brush we made, go to the bottom here, drag them out, hit W, go ahead and position those things, and we'll kind of move these back. Now if you want to scale them down, hit E, just pick a point on your object here and then start scaling them in. You're going to see it start scaling it towards the world axis. If you want to scale it on the local axis, hit this L sim, it's the local symmetry, and now it will scale on the local axis. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this around a little bit with R and then W. Okay. Looks like they're still a little bit big, so I'm going to go ahead and scale them down just a tad and move them back. Kind of eyeballing the image here. And again, if I want to play it safe, all I got to do is hit Shift Z, bring my thing back, and then, when we resymmetrized him, it looks like it kind of moved these things around. So I'm going to hit Z once to kind of reposition this document, and now I should be able to go snap back forward. So looks like his feet are a little short and his socks need to go a little bit lower. So I'm going to pull his socks down just a bit, and then I'm going to go hit Shift Z, and while these are unmasked, I'm going to go over here to split unmasked points, and that'll go ahead and split his feet off into their own subtool here. And I'll talk a little bit more about subtool dimming in just a second. I can hit Z to bring this back, and then Z to go out of widget mode. I'm going to make sure his body is selected. I'm going to hit go to my move brush. I'm just going to pull his feet down, or I can mask his feet out and then use just transpose to kind of move his feet down. Looks like his feet need to be a little bit smaller. Man, I am bad at eyeballing. Good thing I have Spotlight there. So now it looks like his socks need to be inflated a little bit, so I can select his socks, and instead of inflating with the inflate brush, I'm going to go down here to deformation and then do an inflate. Where's that at? I have it in my special menu right here. But that's basically just inflate. There we go. So now we got socks on there, we got his body kind of blocked out, and we're looking good so far.